Thank you for joining me today, Jason. The purpose of this interview is to educate our internet viewers on the topic of homeowners insurance. So let's get started.
Great.
What's standard in a regular homeowners insurance policy?
Well, in Texas, there are many different forms of policies that have standards and have standardized forms. We call those the ISO forms. And each form is going to have a standard set of rules for the client. For instance, there's an HOA, there's an HOB, an HOC, an HOW, and the list goes on and on. Each of those policies has inherent values that are going to determine what is or isn't covered in the policy.
Okay. So what do you want to make sure that your insurance policy covers?
I think some of the most important items to cover in your insurance policy are your replacement costs, both on the structure and your personal property, and sudden and accidental water loss.
Okay, you say replacement cost. Can you go a little bit more into that? I've heard replacement cost policies and actual cash value policies. What's the difference?
Yeah, there are two types of coverage in a policy that would cover your structure and your personal property. The first, as you mentioned, is replacement cost. And this is going to afford you coverage to replace to the current value or rebuild or reconstruct to the current value. And so it's going to pay you for the actual loss sustained. Okay. Whereas an actual cash value policy is going to take that dollar amount, the amount that it takes to cover that, and it's going to depreciate the payment in a fashion that's going to give you less money to make whatever repair is necessary.
Okay, so would an actual cash value policy be less expensive then?
Actual cash value policies are generally less expensive.
But they offer less coverage.
They absolutely offer less coverage.
Okay. So tell me, when people are shopping for homeowners insurance, why not go for the lowest price? I know we talked about less coverage, but you know, a lot of times money talks. Why not go for the lowest price?
Well, you know, considering the budget is very valuable, especially in today's marketplace, but the less coverage or less price, which generally they go hand in hand, is not always the best scenario you want to put yourself in the event of a peril. And perils are, you know, wind, hail, hurricane, fire, theft, smoke, and there are many others. And in the face of those tragic events, you don't want to be left holding the bag to come out of pocket with the expenses for those items. You want to make sure your policy covers you in one of those events. And saving a few dollars each year is generally not big enough when you consider the consequences.
Right, I understand. Okay, here's another question for you. Say you're a homeowner and you're selling your home, and during the inspection period, the inspector points out that there's been some roof damage you're unaware of. How long will your homeowner's insurance cover you?
Insurance policies are designed to cover you if you have coverage in force on the date the peril occurred.
Okay.
And so each company is going to have a different standard as to how long you can take before you report the damage. But most are considerate of the fact that if you had coverage at the time of the loss, to review the claim and in most cases pay it.
Gotcha. Well, that's great. So, is there a big difference between insurance costs from state to state?
As a matter of fact, there is. In my experience, it seems as if the deductibles are a little bit higher in the state of Texas, and the premium is the same, or in some cases, or in most cases, a little bit higher as well.
Okay. Okay. When you make a claim on your insurance policy, how much can you expect your insurance premium to go up, or does it?
A frequently asked question is whether or not claims affect your premium directly. There are some rules in the state of Texas that will protect the consumer so that rates don't go up every single time a claim is filed. Weather-related claims are generally not surcharged in the state of Texas, and it's only those non-weather related claims that you would face a premium increase for. And generally, with the state of Texas, you have to have more than one within a 3-year time frame.
More than one non-weather related claim?
That is correct. More than one non-weather related claim.
And what's an example of a non-weather related claim?
Non-weather related claims would be a liability claim if someone was hurt on your property. It would be a sudden and accidental water loss. It would be a fire, smoke, theft. Those are items that are not necessarily under your control,
right,
but are not part of a peril caused by weather.
Gotcha, okay. Do most companies choose not to renew you if you make a claim?
I would say it's the intent of the insurance companies to renew as many people as possible.
Right.
And unfortunately, there are risks that they are unwilling to keep. And generally speaking, frequency of your claims, so how often you file claims and for what reason, are going to determine whether or not you're going to be renewed or non-renewed. There is usually a standard. We mentioned the one non-weather related claim. So in the state of Texas, you can't be canceled or non-renewed as a result of a water loss, for instance.
Okay.
But if you had a water loss and other losses within a 3-year time frame, then you could be reviewed and possibly even considered for non-renewal.
Okay, but that is if you make more than one claim for the
Correct.
time period. All right. So, what final thoughts can you leave us with?
Well, buying insurance is not an easy task, and I don't expect my clients to understand everything in the policy, but I expect them to understand everything in the policy at the time they purchase it.
Okay.
They need to know what they've included and what they've excluded. They need to know that the coverage that matters to them is in their policy, and from that point on, let the professionals do the work.
Great.